for anybody who's sitting on the fence, about getting involved in this program, absolutely do it. It was the best thing that I ever did. And these are skills that I'm going to have for my entire life, in my toolbox, so very, very much worth the investment.
Let's get a little context. Like, where were things before, like before coaching, before all this, like how was your situation?
I've always been, a thicker girl. I was never an itty bitty thing. And for many, many years, I'm very well read on health and fitness and working out. I've read every book from here to Timbuktu. I have tried every diet, even some crazy, crazy diets. I've done everything. I've hired personal trainers. So then we enter this thing called perimenopause. Things, started to change. The body started to change, and which I thought, you know what? I have to work out harder now. I have to cut the calories even more. I have to work out harder. It's just my metabolism's not as good as it used to be. And so I spent many, many, many years working out like that and not seeing any results and always ending up in failure, frustrated, depressed, you name it. I got to the point where if I knew I was going out for dinner that day, I would count all my calories for that day. And I already knew what I was going to order. And then I would go hit the treadmill and I would stay on it until I knew I burned that whole meal. Wow. And if it took 2 hours, like that's how obsessed I was with it, of I can't gain a pound, I can't do that. And so much of my identity was linked to my weight and for many, many years. And so then you hit this thing called perimenopause, and everything that you thought you knew is completely out the window, to the point where I went through probably about the past year and a half, 2 years, just basically thinking, you know what, this is just the way it's going to be, until I ran into you guys. And then everything changed.
Right. So for you, when did it shift from this fat loss death sentence, I'm going to be fluffy the rest of my life, to 3 vacations in 3 months, drinking and eating on the weekends, losing body fat, thriving, eating all the foods, and leaner? Talk about the stuff that happened in the middle of that.
It was, okay, this is a life decision. This is something that has to sustain me, not just through my next vacation or, and before I was working out 6 days a week, strength training, cardio. I mean, I was just a fanatic about it. Nothing was moving, no results, nothing. Cut my calories, nothing was moving. Cut my bread, I'm going to cut all the carbs and, this and that and this and that. And even though my body was craving them, when I started with you guys, I listen to my body and I give my body what it wants. If my body wants a piece of bread, I eat a piece of bread and I don't feel guilty about it. I include it in my calorie count. And that's it. I don't feel guilty about it, because that is, especially being a menopausal woman, by denying myself that piece of bread, I am stressing my body out. Same with, working out. When I was working out 6 days a week, my body was so overtaxed and stressed out. And now I do, on my tonal, 3 days a week, I just upped it to 4, but these are not strenuous workouts. So this is completely different from the way that I used to work out. I used to practically kill myself. And I'm going to eat what my body is telling me that it needs. Everything within moderation. Because looking back, in my 20s and 30s, I didn't have near the results as quickly as I have this past 3 months. And I was working a shit ton harder and really depriving myself and missing out on fun things. I would stay away from certain social situations because I was afraid, I can't eat that pizza, or I can't eat that burger. Now I'm eating at social events. We've had a lot of hockey going on lately, so there's been a lot of tournaments and a lot of eating out, and I just plan accordingly and deal with it. I want to have a couple beers. So, I mean, it all balances out. But, the 180 Academy videos have been an absolute lifesaver. And it's funny because some of these videos I have actually applied in other areas of my life. The 180 Academy videos, the messages in there are just another tool in your toolbox. And I'm telling you, my toolbox is open all the time. And I am digging around in it all the time. And it's helpful, and it's been a lifesaver. Some of my favorites: don't eat like an asshole.
Yeah.
Have your cheesecake, enjoy. Don't eat like an asshole. That's one of my favorite tools. Another one of my favorite tools is with the binge eating. You have a craving, you address that craving when it's a 2 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10. And don't feel guilty about it. don't put it off, address it and move on. That's a good one. And then the probably the best one for me is keeping promises to yourself. I feel like I show up for everybody else. I'm very much a person of my word, and my credibility is very important to me.
Yes.
So when I tell somebody I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But I wasn't doing that for myself.
Mm.
And so keeping promises to yourself and showing up for yourself. So that is what's gotten me through life is getting a little crazy. That has been huge. Showing up for yourself. It's very, very powerful. Very powerful. Those tools are just, they're priceless. And that's what was missing, part of what was missing in all of my years of working out. Because I'm like,
Mm.
I can do this. And I'm like, I'm a smart person. I'm strong mentally. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, great for, a bit. And then you always end up falling off the wagon and out
Yeah,
of frustration and
sure.
not having those tools.
This is affecting more than fat loss for you. Yeah, it's dope because fat loss is happening, but it sounds like these, like you said, these principles are applying to other areas in your life. But then because of this, you're having date night without anxiety. You're having to be a better example to like those around you, your family. It sounds like this is just bleeding into everything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can go and have a drink with my husband on a Friday night, a glass of wine. And before I would, nope, can't do that. Too much sugar, too much, can't do that. But I just count it and I plan for
Mm.
it. And, I'm able to do that. And this is the first time out of all the diets I've done that I have felt like I'm not missing out on anything.
Mm. What made you want to actually put your hard-earned dollars into changing your situation?
I listened to the podcast and I was just so jacked. I was like, hell yeah. And I got back with Ashley and I'm like, put me in contact. Like this is
Wow.
exactly what I was looking for. Hell yeah. Finally, somebody who is talking about menopause. Well, and I also think, again, I've been on many websites and have done sign up for many programs and supplements and name it. And one thing that I really liked about your team is it was no nonsense.
Yep.
I felt my first call was with you, Jared, and I'm like, wow, like I'm talking to the guy, like he's taking time out of his schedule to talk personally to me. Like that was huge for me. I was so impressed and so impressed at how down to earth you are. And I loved that you use fuck all the time. I'm like, this is my guy. Like he's real. You're so passionate about what you do and helping people. It oozes out of you. And
I
I
appreciate that.
just being very personal, with your clients and taking that time. I mean, that's huge.
Mm.
It's huge because it's not gimmicky by any means. And the fact that, Sadie, I'm talking to a real person, a real coach. You can't stop living because you think this program is going to hinder, the
Mm-hmm.
fun things that you want to do, because it doesn't. And never 1 ounce of bad judgment or looking down on me or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. She's like, oh, hey, it's okay. It's
Yep.
it's life. But for anybody who's sitting on the fence, about getting involved in this program, absolutely
Mm.
do it. It was the best thing that I ever did. And these are skills that I'm going to have for my entire life, in my toolbox, so very, very much worth the investment.